Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the inaugural Redhawk Roundtable, where we talk everything Seattle University baseball. I'm Dan Giuliani, voice of the Redhawks, joined by Doug Buser, former Redhawks center fielder, Donegal Fergus, the hitting coach for the Redhawks, and Dave Wainhouse, pitching coach for Seattle University. So this is going to be the first in what we hope is many little short segments where we're going to talk about the different salient topics in the world of Seattle University baseball. Today's topic is going to be last season, 2011. Before we can look forward to 2012, boys, I feel like it's apropos to go back, look at the history of Seattle University baseball now as SU's entering the third year here under head coach Donnie Harrell. So 2011, 11-39. Right, was the 2010 record. So a 10-game improvement from 2010 to 2011. Redhawks get 21 victories, 30 losses, and the one tie ball game. So let's just go over 2011 from a pitching perspective. Dave, just give us kind of your overall thoughts. What do you feel went well for you last year in the pitching staff? What do you feel needs to be improved?
Last year, I feel that some of our starters had made a big jump in terms of a Brandon Kaiser and Seth Howe coming in. I thought they were pretty dependable and reliable for the most part over the course of the season. I think we got more ground balls. That you saw a big shift, and especially to Brandon Kaiser, who was a fly ball pitcher that first year, and last year many more ground balls, and were able to get some easier outs. Was able to pitch deeper into games, being more efficient. I think there were more guys that we were able to go to in the bullpen last year with an emergence of a Corey Mack as a freshman being able to come in and pitch. Connor Spink was everything for us, and he made the game so much easier as he was able to come in relief and really shut down a game. There were just so many more guys that made contributions that second year, just with that first year struggles, and saw some guys that really took what they learned that first year and were able to move in and be much more successful the second year.
Yeah, there's really no statistical improvement that I think says more about last year in comparison to year number one than when you look at the ERA, improvement of over 2 runs per game for the pitching staff, home runs against, 14 fewer dingers off of the Seattle U arms, and then the batting average against, striking, .43. Improved batting average against for the pitching staff. And you know, some of that's certainly the arms. You mentioned Corey Mack coming through, being that diminutive lefty that nobody saw coming, and Connor Spink being that shutdown guy. Spink obviously is going to be gone, tough to replace for this pitching staff, but also the defense. Fergie had to really step up to back up those pitchers out there. What did you see when you were watching the defense this last year? And I know the first year you weren't with the staff, or from what you heard maybe from 2010 to what you saw in 2011.
Yeah, I tried to tell him I didn't have anything to do with that first year, so it was all gravy for me. You know, from the day I joined to the end of the year, you could see the improvement defensively, and I can only imagine it was even more striking. You know, being around for 2 years, guys just felt more comfortable, I think, being out on the field at the Division I level. I know that first year, especially on the infield, Casey Powell, our infield coach, really commented that there were some young guys that had to play right away and had to play some really critical innings, and just maybe were a little overwhelmed at times. And you know, defensively it can really snowball, and you have you kick one through your legs, and it really sticks in your brain for a while, and that kind of stuff can snowball on you a little bit. And I thought we did a great job. I thought Casey did an amazing job with our infield, just getting those guys ready to play, because like Winter mentioned, a lot more ground balls than the first year. You got to pick it up and throw it across to win at this level. And our outfielders, for the most part, ran to where the ball was and then threw it back to an infielder. So it wasn't quite like having Doug Buser out there roaming center field, but not bad at all.
Yeah, I think if we were to be maybe more critical of the situation, we might think, all right, who was the X factor who was maybe not out there in that second year, resulting in 10 more wins? If we had to point to somebody, Doug, we'd obviously point to you, because you know it was sort of your team. You were the only senior in 2010, and the team notched those 11 wins. They kick you out of there, you're gone, and all of a sudden it's 21 wins. But you got to see the transition happen because you were there on the field in year one. Year two, you were up there in the booth with me. What did you see when you were watching the team in the second year?
I think I saw a lot more confidence. You talked about defense and spilling over the pitching staff spilling over the defense. I mean, that part is really this combination. Guys want to throw more strikes. Guys want to lay out for more balls. I think that type of growth It was really exciting to watch, especially from the booth. It was exciting to watch as a player. I think it was more exciting to watch them grow from freshman year, sophomore year, and I think I'm really excited to see them this year. Most of these freshmen my year are now juniors, so I'm excited to watch that progression and really see CLU go and achieve their 30-win season goal.
Yeah, I think something that anybody who watched the Redhawks play in the first year, in 2010, you saw a lot of strikeouts at the plate, right? You saw a lot of kids up there who were just starting to get the feel of college baseball, what it was like to go up against some big-time pitching. And so you saw some improvements in the offensive categories. You saw 31 more runs scored. You saw more pop off the bat, 11 more home runs, 53 more walks in 2011 compared to 2010. And so you've got a couple guys who stepped into that lineup, some impact kids who came in last year, Trent Oleschek being one, setting the table at the top of the order, and then Doug Kincaid coming in and knocking those kids home. Talk a little bit, if you would, Fergie, about the impact those two kids had in that lineup, and then also Wainhouse adding Seth Howe, to that rotation. How much did those three guys really impact the team last year?
Well, for me, it starts with Ole. You talk about Trent Oleschek coming in, and is an absolute game changer, just mentality-wise. He was unbelievable at setting the tone for us as an entire team with just that mentality of he wasn't going to get beat. And if you were going to beat him, you were going to have to punch him in the mouth and bloody him pretty good to do it, both offensively and defensively. He's an undersized guy, doesn't look like much, weighs about $165 soaking wet, but just refuses to get beat and competes every day. And really taught a lot of those sophomores last year and those juniors now, like Nate Roberts and Cole Hendrickson, that if you just compete hard enough, you can beat a lot of people, whether it's Oregon State, ranked third in the country, or Sacramento State, or UW twice. You can play with those guys if you just compete hard enough. So he was unbelievable at setting that tone. And Doug Kincaid too, for a guy who not a lot was expected of him. Certainly under the radar. Had some struggles in his first 2 years of junior college, and just comes on the scene and has some crazy power. If we can harness that a little bit, and as anybody who's ever saw me play knows, I can really teach home runs because that was my thing. So,
How many
I'm
career
sure
bombs?
we'll have
How many
about-
career bombs, Fergie, for you?
One.
Okay.
Yeah. So clearly it's my game.
you and Doug.
Clearly it fits me well.
That's the one-on-one
I
catch.
don't have a face him yet.
I really wish I would have gotten to face you because that might have helped me out a little more. So. No, it's certainly exciting to have those two guys back specifically, and I think like Doug mentioned, just knowing that you've been there and done that before, being able to compete, and that the confidence and the calmness that comes from that. That class that he mentioned, that freshman class for him, the juniors now is you just see those guys and they show up every day and they know what to do, and I think it's going to translate this year.
And Dave, when did you start seeing kind of that progression for the pitching staff this last year? Maybe turning that table from being the freshman, sophomore, now hopefully being those junior class guys that step up and really make an impact.
Well, it's kind of weird on that. They were really sophomores and juniors because that first year, your year, almost all of our pitchers were junior college transfers.
Right.
A lot of the freshmen didn't get a ton of innings. Brandon Kaiser was a sophomore going in there, and Blaine Jones and Big Bird was a junior, and Connor Spink was a sophomore. He was a junior. So we had a lot of older JC guys, but still no one with Division I experience. And I felt really in the summer after, I thought a lot of those guys had started to kind of get it. Towards the end, some guys started to get it a little bit and pitch a little bit more, and you saw them maybe attack a little bit more versus kind of like, whoa, am I in the right place at the right time? And I thought they took charge of the game more. I mean, you were there, and there's just a number of errors the pitchers made early because they were all really tentative. I saw much more aggressive towards the end of that first year, and then I think that first series at Northridge, I really saw a difference in Brandon Kaiser right out of the gate, and Max coming back right where he picked up the year before, and so that transition, I really thought it started early last year, where some guys really started to believe, hey, I can do this.
And then talk a little bit, if you would, just to close out the discussion on the pitching staff. Seth Howe comes in, a kid that you'd worked with through his development as a youth baseball player, and then coming into CLU, and really, in my mind, presenting a calming force on this staff, a kid who really knows how to pitch and can orchestrate and control a game out there on the mound. Just talk a little bit, if you would, about your impressions of Seth and maybe what some of the other guys could take away from his style of pitching.
Well, Seth, one, I mean, I've mentioned Brandon like 3 times, and I think I've done it since he was probably 12 years old. I take Seth for granted. Seth's going to go out there and Seth's going to do his gig. He's going to change speeds. He's going to throw stuff that you go, how does that not smash? He goes out there and he has an idea of what he wants to do, and he'll try and execute everything he can to do it on that particular day. And for him, last year was such a blessing because he was so different than everyone else that you really could plan on him getting you to that 7th inning in a start, knowing that he was going to hold runners and, when he wasn't going to get beat up. He might, Seth seemed to, if he got beat up, he got hurt with a 2-run home run in the 7th inning. Right. That was it. He didn't have those 5-run second innings. He found a way out of innings, and where I really felt Seth, when he told me when we were playing Notre Dame at the UW at the start of the year, and the first inning they got I think 1 or 2 hits and 2 runs, and he was just he just wasn't himself, and he came off the field and he said that's it, and he went 8 innings, never gave up another hit, and didn't give up another run for the next 8 innings. And we were like, okay, this kid can do it, and he knew what he wanted to do. On the flip side, he had to really learn how to pitch a little bit more last year. He had to go back and almost pitch double opposite and learn, because he's been successful every level he's been at without ever having to change. Well, Division I hitters make him change, and he struggled a little bit the second half learning how to change back to maybe more of a traditional guy and not be the odd guy in terms of how he changes speeds. But he was a blessing for us. I think he led us in batting average against, fewest walks, ERA, led us in everything except wins, who I think Brandon beat him by 1. Mm-hmm. So having Seth is you wouldn't be able to replace that this year, because he'll be a rock in that rotation.
Well, there's our look back at the 2011 Seattle University baseball season. Hope you'll join us for the next Redhawks Roundtable on GoSeattleU.com. For Doug Buser, Donegal Fergus, Dave Wainhouse,